Hurricane Dorian 2019 track update. Dorian slams Bahamas, warnings issued for Florida. Hurricane Dorian remained a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane on Sunday night as it crawled slowly and destructively across the northern Bahamas. The storm is forecast to move dangerously close to Florida, according to the National Hurricane Center, and hurricane and storm surge warnings have been issued for parts of the East Coast. Hurricane conditions are expected along part of Florida's east coast by late Monday or Tuesday. The Hurricane Center said Dorian is now the strongest hurricane in modern records to hit the northwestern Bahamas, and it is the second strongest on record as far as wind speed goes in the Atlantic. Dorian's winds were a devastating 185 miles per hour Sunday afternoon, and it will almost certainly deliver a devastating blow to the islands over the next 2 days. It is not very often that we measure such strong winds, the Hurricane Center said Sunday afternoon. The storm has slowed down and was moving at only 5 miles per hour has left a trail of destruction behind in the Abaco Islands and near Grand Bahama Island. Some of the early reports from the Bahamas are sobering. Dr. Rick Knabb, the former director of the Hurricane Center, put the situation in stark terms on Twitter. Staggering Dorian numbers. Gusts to 220 miles per hour, storm surge 1823 feet. Pressure 910 MB. And slow 7 miles per hour motion is only going to get worse, maybe down to 0 at times. Can't think of many weather scenarios worse than slow-moving Cat 5 overpopulated area. Dorian's winds were holding at an incredible 185 miles per hour with gusts to 220 miles per hour on Sunday night. But its minimum central pressure has risen a bit to 915 MB, 27.02 inches, the Hurricane Center said. So far its lowest pressure was 910 MB. Meanwhile, those in the U.S. continued to keep a nervous eye on the storm's projected track, which still keeps the eye offshore but has edged closer to the Florida coast. The National Hurricane Center urged Floridians to stay on guard, because it will be a close call whether Dorian makes landfall or not in the Sunshine State. It is once again emphasized that although the official track forecast does not show landfall, users should not focus on the exact track. A small deviation to the left of the track could bring the intense core of the hurricane and its dangerous winds closer to or onto the Florida coast, forecasters said Sunday afternoon. As of the last advisory, at 7 p.m. the CDT Sunday, the eye of Hurricane Dorian was located 75 miles east of Freeport on Grand Bahama Island, or 155 miles east of West Palm Beach, Florida, and was moving west at 5 miles per hour. Hurricane warnings continued for the northwestern Bahamas, and hurricane and surge warnings were added for parts of eastern Florida as of the latest update. The Hurricane Center said Dorian's strength could fluctuate the next few days, but it is expected to remain a fearsome storm as it slowly tracks through the Bahamas and approaches Florida. The eye has been shrinking this afternoon, and the Hurricane Center speculated that an eye wall replacement cycle is beginning. That could cause Dorian's intensity to fluctuate for the next few hours, but the hurricane will continue to be extremely dangerous one during that time. Dorian could weaken some after it turns to the north but is expected to remain a hurricane for the next 5 days. Dorian has also gotten larger. Hurricane winds, 74 miles per hour and higher, extend outward up to 45 miles from Dorian's eye. Tropical storm winds extend outward up to 140 miles. Surge projections have increased for the Bahamas. Now 18 to 23 feet of surge will be possible in areas of onshore winds on the Abaco Islands and Grand Bahama Island, the Hurricane Center said. See radar out of the Bahamas here. Hurricane warnings continued for the northwestern Bahamas, and new hurricane watches went up along the Florida coast in the latest update. Here are the watches and warnings for Florida. A storm surge warning is in effect from Lantana to the Volusia, Brevard County line. A hurricane warning is in effect from Jupiter Inlet to the Volusia, Brevard County line. A storm surge watch is in effect from north of Deerfield Beach to Lantana, from the Volusia, Brevard County line to the Flagler, Volusia County line. A hurricane watch is in effect from north of Deerfield Beach to Jupiter Inlet and from Volusia, Brevard County line to the Flagler, Volusia County line. A tropical storm warning is in effect from north of Deerfield Beach to Jupiter Inlet and from north of Golden Beach to Deerfield Beach as well as Lake Okeechobee. The Hurricane Center said 4 to 7 feet of surge will be possible from the Volusia, Brevard County line to Jupiter Inlet in Florida, and 2 to 4 feet will be possible north of Deerfield Beach to Jupiter Inlet. Dorian is forecast to continue tracking to the west today and tomorrow, but it has slowed down, which means the Bahamas could be in for a prolonged battering. The hurricane is then expected to gradually turn to the northwest, approaching Florida late Monday through Tuesday night. The forecast track was again nudged a few miles to the west and closer to Florida on Sunday. Dorian is expected to be steered by an area of high pressure to its north, which would continue to push it on a westward path. However, the high is beginning to weaken on its west side, and that could also weaken Dorian's steering currents, enabling the hurricane to slow down, which it has started to do. Forecasters think Dorian will begin to turn to the north in 2 to 4 days and track near Georgia and the Carolinas. It is forecast to still be a hurricane by that point,